Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Zara and today I'm going to be doing a review of Shadowless by Randall McNally. I'm actually going to be kicking off a new series, little video series, focusing on self-published books. This is going to be the first one in this series. I'm so excited. I have taken a very keen interest in the self-publishing industry over the last couple of weeks and months, and so that is going to be another focus of my channel. I have told myself at a minimum that I have to be reading one self-published book a month. I think I've actually been reading more than that over the last couple of months and I just didn't realize it, but I want to shine a spotlight onto these people who work tirelessly to get their books out there to readers to enjoy. So without further ado, let's jump into Shadowless by Randall McNally. I have to say, I didn't really have much expectation going into it, but after I finished it, you know when you get that like satisfying feeling when you've had like a really good meal? That's how I felt. Now let's go into it. Shadowless is essentially a multi-character story and we are following a bunch of different individuals as they try to figure out their situation. I'm going to read the summary of the plot because I think it does it better justice than I could do it. What if the gods themselves wanted you dead? A young boy lies on a beach on a warm summer's day. While trying to block the sun from his eyes, Arthurius makes a shocking discovery. He has no shadow. Confused and bewildered, he asks his uncle why he is shadowless. What he learns is a terrifying secret that will change his life forever. Set in the Northern Realms, Shadowless is a fantasy novel about individuals born without a shadow. Spawned by the malevolent deities of this world, these children of the gods are persecuted at every turn. Hunted by the high priests who carry out the wishes of their gods, hunted by the shadow watchers, armed soldiers who are assigned to each temple, and hunted by the gods themselves. Part mortal and part god, the Shadowless live for centuries and face a battle for survival, constantly on the run or hiding in far-flung corners of the Northern Realms. Soon their lives and fates become intertwined, expedited by the mysterious monk Amradin. Driven by a series of visions, Amradin travels through the Northern Realms, seeking out the Shadowless and trying to enlist their help to make a stand and fight back against the gods. It is almost like a collection of short stories, which is not something that I actually anticipated when I read the book or started reading the book, because I didn't actually read the back of the book. I just picked it up because I'd heard a couple of people recommend it to me and I thought, let's go into it with zero expectation. And it was really unusual, but in a good way. Overall, it's one of those books that is best enjoyed slowly. It took me about 3 weeks to read it because I was reading like a chapter a day. Not only was I reading the physical copy, but Randall actually reached out to me and gave me a copy of the audiobook to listen to. And I have to say, I think the audiobook is absolutely excellent. I'm not normally an audiobook listener. The only time I really listen to audiobooks is when I'm listening to nonfiction. But this was an audiobook that really enriched the overall experience. So if you are considering picking this up, which you definitely should, I would definitely consider picking up the audiobook because I think it really enhanced the overall tone and the characters and the way that the book progressed. So there's a little bit of pretext. Now let's go into my review. So the really great things about this book, there's so many good things about this book, but the thing that I just really enjoyed was the fact that it did read like a collection of short stories, but then there were these little lines, these threads that were connecting all these different characters together, and it was very subtle. So you know they're all set in the same world, you know all these characters have these certain things in common, but you don't really know to what extent. And so there's this element of mystery and intrigue that only really reveals itself in the kind of last third of the book, which I really enjoyed. So if you're looking for something that is maybe a little bit more, not disjointed, but a little bit more kind of separate and you can enjoy slowly, then this is the type of book that you should pick up because it all comes together really nicely at the end as well. The next thing that I really like, the risk of this type of book is that the characters start to lose their individuality and it just kind of becomes a sea of different people who you forget and don't really care about. That does not happen here. Each character has a distinct identity. Each character has a very distinct arc, and they all have very distinct magical powers, and they all have very distinct personality traits. So each character felt like an individual character. They felt like they carried weight. They felt like they had depth to their personalities, even though for a lot of these characters, we were only with them for like a chapter. And I think that's really hard to do. And I think Randall did a brilliant job of making these individuals feel complete, even though we didn't actually spend that much time with them. So that is super impressive. The next thing that I really liked, and these two things are actually really connected, is just the way that the overall book is structured and then the way that everything comes together at the end. And I really like the fact that, you know, we have these individual stories, and then we have this like kind of main character that, you know, is the first chapter. And then his role, you know, is obviously quite a big role in the entire book, which I'm not going to go into anymore because it would be a spoiler. But I think the thing that I really liked about it was the fact that you have all these different parts, different individuals, and the way that everything specifically converged at the end was just masterfully done. It was chef's kiss. And I don't think I've seen an author do that before in this way. And I was just really pleasantly surprised by it. As a follow-on from that, as I speak about the ending and the way that things converge at the end, there is a twist at the end of this book that I started to suspect. But my gosh, when it was confirmed for me, I was like, oh man, that's a bit of a punch to the gut. And I really liked it. And I actually messaged Randall afterwards and I was like, oh, and there we go. I'm not going to say anything more because it will spoil it. But it was really satisfying. And, you know, he leaves little nuggets here and there, and it's just great. The last two things that I'll mention. So as a big fantasy reader, it's amazing how many fantasy books don't actually have dragons in them. There are dragons in this book. I love the fact that the dragons are like really smart, really cunning, and they're how dragons should be. I feel like sometimes dragons are presented as like man's best friend, which I also like that way of doing it. I do like the very sinister, cunning version of dragons, which is what, you know, dragons are typically known as. So I really enjoyed that, and I only wish we'd got a little bit more time with the dragons, but then again, I think that was a good balance. The last thing that I really enjoyed, we all know I love grimdark fantasy. We all know that I love dark books. This book was way darker than I thought it was going to be, like way darker. Like the swearing, it's, you know, all the characters are very morally grey. There's a lot of mistreatment towards the Shadowless, and that can be manifested in many different ways. And there is this whole undertone of how the gods actually get their power into these people, and that is done by raping women, essentially. So it's very, very dark, and it was completely unexpected, and I was kind of here for it. I really enjoyed the undertones. I really enjoyed the direction that the darkness took, if that makes sense. And I think Randall did a wonderful job of like making the world feel very raw and making the world feel very unfair towards these people. And I loved it. I thought it was really good. There are only two small things that I would say I wanted more of. One thing is I would have loved a character list, because there are a lot of different characters that you are following. And there were a couple of times where I had to go back to previous chapters or look in the book when I was listening to the audiobook to see who was who. So that's one little minor thing. And then the other thing that I would have really liked was time with all of the Shadowless together, because as I mentioned, you know, we're following these individual characters at the start of the book and the middle of the book. By the end of it, everything kind of converges together. The characters converge together, the plot converges together. And I would have just liked more time with these people together, because I feel like we would have learned more about them as individuals in a group setting. So that's the only thing I would have really liked. As a general rule, I'm not going to actually be doing ratings on self-published books going forward. So when I review self-published books, I'm not actually going to be giving a rating. But this is one of those books that I think if you're looking for something a little bit different, if you're looking for something really dark, if you're looking for something that kind of keeps you on your toes and changes it up quite a bit as it progresses throughout the book, this is the book for you. I know a lot of you guys, people who watch me and enjoy the books that I read, I know for a fact that a lot of you would really enjoy this book. So please go and pick it up. I'm really hoping that Randall will jump on my channel at some point so we can chat about the book, because I think it's fantastic. I was shocked at how much I loved it, not because I didn't think I was going to like it. It was more that I just didn't really have any expectation, and it just completely blew my expectation out of the water. So if you're looking for a good book and you're looking for something that's a bit meaty and is very character driven, go and pick up Shadowless by Randall McNally. So let me know if you have read it. I don't know too many people who have read this book. I think it's quite a low-key book, so whatever I can do to get you guys to read it. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments and I will answer them as soon as I can. But go and pick it up. You're wasting your time by not reading it. It's fantastic. I will also post a link to Amazon down below so that you guys can find it super easily. This will be the first review in my self-published book review series. What a way to start. I really loved it. I really enjoyed it. And Randall McNally is going to be an author that I'm going to be keeping a very close eye on for whatever he publishes next. So thanks guys. As always, I'll see you in the next video. Stay safe, take care, and I will speak to you soon.